Before we get into today's interview, I want to tell you about another podcast that I think you're really going to love. It's called the Marketing Book Podcast, and it was named by LinkedIn as one of 10 podcasts that will make you a better marketer. It's hosted by my friend Douglas Burdett, who we've had on the podcast in the past. And Douglas does weekly interviews with authors of best-selling marketing and sales books. According to an Adobe survey of marketers, 76% of them said that marketing has changed more in the last 2 years than in the previous 50. So when you subscribe to this podcast, the Marketing Book Podcast, you're going to be able to keep up with the quickly changing landscape of modern marketing and sales. One thing that is unique about this that I think is really interesting is that Douglas reads every single book before every interview. And you can tell that in the engagement that he is able to have with each of the authors that he interviews. You can just tell he knows this content because he's read the entire book. He hasn't just read the cliff notes. And so he has done over 100 interviews. I think they're at episode 134 right now. By the time you're hearing this, they might be at 135. But I want you to head over. You're already in the podcast app. Head over and search for the Marketing Book Podcast. Get subscribed. Download a few episodes. You can check out their website at marketingbookpodcast.com. You can follow them on Twitter at Marketing Book, but I really, really, really want you to subscribe to this podcast. This is one that I get a ton of value from, and I think you will as well. You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Sean Haubert. He is the social media manager at Pitney Bowes. Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am wonderful. Sean, we're going to be talking about building an influencer network today. This is something you guys are doing at Pitney Bowes. Before we get into the content, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about, for the few folks listening to this that aren't familiar with Pitney Bowes, tell us about what you guys are up to, what you guys are doing over there, and a little bit about the role that you're in.
Sure. So Pitney Bowes was founded as a shipping company, shipping and mailing meters. I'm sure if you go into your mail room, you probably have a Pitney Bowes piece of equipment. And what we're in the middle of right now is a digital transformation, and we're becoming more of a global tech company. You know, we're trying to combine the best of innovative physical and digital solutions in a global commerce. You know, mail may be slowing down, but it's not dead, right? People are still shipping packages. You go on Amazon, you buy something, it's being shipped to you. So, it's our thought process that shipping is more important than ever, especially in this online global e-commerce environment that we currently live in.
I love it.
So, yeah, so that's where we're kind of shifting from the physical to more of the e-commerce end of shipping. And, we range from about, I think the number is 90% of the Fortune 500 companies utilize our systems in some way or shape. So, wow. So it's a great company to work for. And, we've got a great social media team here that's really firing on all cylinders.
I love it. And so you guys are in the process right now of building your influencer network. Sean, talk to us about why influencers are the thing to be paying attention to. It's where people's attention are, leveraging, the owned audiences of these influencers. But talk to us about how you guys are thinking about kind of the early stages as you're building out this network.
Great question. So what we're currently doing is, let me start with saying we had a influencer network. I don't know if they were necessarily the right fit for what we were trying to accomplish. So currently I'm in the role of identifying new influencers. Okay. And they go against all the verticals. So we have e-commerce, we have software, we have shipping solutions. So I'm trying to find people who are influential in all those verticals. And it's not easy. It's not that easy to find somebody who only talks about shipping, right? On Twitter.
Yeah.
So we try to find somebody who's using that hashtag as much as possible, or their audience is reacting to that hashtag as much as possible. So, I'm utilizing tools like Little Bird, which is a great Twitter analyzer for profiles.
And you said that was Little Bird?
Little Bird, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going down bare basic using Google, right? I'm using Twitter. I'm creating Twitter lists, using TweetDeck to really find people that are hitting the topics that we want to talk about.
I love it.
And, so we've made, I got this massive spreadsheet of people that I would like to talk to. It's not necessarily who has the most tweets or the most followers, but who has the most relevant content.
Yeah.
And they're sharing with it on daily or a regular basis.
Got it.
And we have a great influencer that we've been working with for a lot of years who used to write for Fortune, and he's helping make the introductions to some of these people that we wanted to partner with. And basically he's getting us in front of them. We're creating a relationship with them, seeing if there's a mutual understanding of what they want to talk to their audience about and what we would like to talk to their audience about. And, it's kind of like we're getting ready to date, right? We're asking the questions at the dinner table.
And are you initiating these conversations? Or are you guys working through a third party? How does that work?
Well, so we're working through an influencer that we rely pretty heavily on to make some introductions. But, in the past, when I put together influencer campaigns, I've reached out, and I'm sure your audience knows, you start out by just following them, right? And then you mention them, and you start slowly building a relationship with them. We're kind of speeding that up just a little bit and finding, the person that we use has pre-existing relationships with a lot of the people that we want to talk to. So it just makes that intro a little bit smoother.
That's a really smart play. Did you guys kind of fall into that situation by, running into did you just happen to find the guy that used to write for Fortune, or was that an intentional choice that you guys made to say, hey, if we can find one person that can unlock a ton of relationships, that's going to be the direction we should go?
I can tell you, his name's Brian Moran, and that's his Twitter handle. He is a great guy. He knows everybody on Twitter, because he was writing for so long in the business world. So he has a lot of contacts, and we had reached out to him maybe a year or two ago to become one of our influencers, and we've just fostered a great relationship with him. And we turned to him a lot to cover live events, to brainstorm ideas with. I've been partnering with him to put together this influencer network. He's been kind of holding my hand and working through, because I've done influencer campaigns, but they've been B2C, so we're a B2B focused. Okay. So it's a little bit different. Yep. Right. So he's really helping us ease our way into this.
I love it. And I want to go back a bit, Sean, and talk about, you had mentioned that you guys had an influencer network before, and it just wasn't the right group of influencers. I would imagine that's a mistake that a lot of people make. Kind of looking back at that, could you kind of give some wise words to folks that maybe haven't started doing it yet, but that could learn from some of the mistakes, or, the things that you guys have learned from in that first influencer network that you built?
Yeah, definitely. So, a lot of the people we reached out to, we had relationships with. We may not have been in a financial relationship with them, but we were in a mutual understanding with them that we'd give them exclusive content to share, and kind of give them first dibs at information that we were pushing out. But we found that a lot of the people we were talking to didn't necessarily come through. So, for instance, if we had a tweet chat, a tweet up, we'd get some of our influencers, but we couldn't get every single one of them engaged. So I think we might have spread ourselves too thin. And what we're trying to do this time is really nail down this list and get 20, maybe 30 people that we can really heavily rely on, that, we can build a strong relationship with. Like I mentioned with Brian, we've worked with him for a while now. Find people like him that we can really say, hey, we want to lean on you. Can you share this information with your audience? I think it's of relevance. It really hits their pain points, and I think they're going to be interested in it. And, if you really do your homework and do your research up front, it's going to be that much easier to identify the right people to be talking to, as opposed to just having a stable full of influencers, but a really fine-tuned, nailed down group of people.
Got it. And so you said you're using a tool called Littlebird to find some of these influencers. Are there other tools that you're using that have been helpful as you guys have sought to build this second network of influencers that you're currently working on?
Yeah, definitely. So we're using Social Studio. Like I said, I use Google. I try to find searches. If I'm looking for a vertical on e-commerce, try to see who comes up for articles written, right? Okay. And then I go into those articles that are written, try to find them on Twitter. And then I set up a list in Twitter that I can follow on TweetDeck and follow them talking about it. I find what hashtags are relevant around these, that they have it in their bios, set up lists of those hashtags, and then follow along there and kind of insert myself into the conversation as well, so they don't think I'm some sort of creepy stalker. But yep. I'm involved in the conversation as well. Kind of establish myself as a thought leader as well. And it just makes, when we do that initial outreach, I know it's going to make it that much easier because they're going to have seen my name as much as I've seen theirs.
Yep. So Littlebird, Social Studio, and Google are the three primary tools that you're using.
And, even Twitter. I mean, Twitter is such a powerful tool. Their search features are just fantastic. We do rely heavily on Littlebird because Littlebird helps you not just map out influencers, but their networks as well. So it kind of gives you a network and then network plus one to figure out where the intersections of influential people are.
I love it. Sean, this has been fantastic. I want to close with one last question before we let you go today. And it's a question that I love asking because it allows our listeners to get to know our guests on a little bit deeper level. I'd love to ask, what is the legacy that you'd like to leave?
Great question. So my Twitter handle is the SM Geek, and I live, eat, and breathe social media. And one of the things that I love to do is this career that I've found myself on is I've been able to teach social media in colleges, and it's been great to share my experiences with the students. To show them case studies, what's worked, what hasn't worked, but really have a conversation with them because they're a digital generation. So they've grown up on this stuff, and find out what's working with them. And then taking that information back, bringing it to my marketing department and say, don't forget these people. This is what they're talking about. This is where they are. So, I want to, basically, I want to preach the gospel of social media and share it with as many people as possible, and share it with our marketers here and say, have you thought about this? Or let's you're kind of stuck here. Let's go down this road. I think this is a different path for you, but I think it will be successful.
I love it.
So yeah,
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Sean. If there's somebody listening to this, they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Twitter is definitely the best way. I'm always on it. So it's at the SM Geek. It pretty much describes me to a T.
Awesome. And if they want to check out Pitney Bowes, is it just pitneybowes.com?
pitneybowes.com.
Love it. Awesome, Sean. Well, thank you so much again for your time. This has been fantastic, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. I was happy to be here.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.